Welcome to another BSMG. So, just to get straight to it, guys, we had a reasonable run with a new prototype I've been working on, thanks to Eternal Masters. Um, we've got a lot of new cards, particularly in the red-green archetype that I just really wanted to mess around with. I think, namely, the fact that, Mongoose and Curd Ape are now playable in the format. You can grab these yourself really, really cheap now, thanks to the fact that they're both common rarity. Also, weird things like Emperor Crocodile. If you don't remember this one, the 4 mana 5/5. If we control no other creatures, we have to sacrifice him. But the nice thing about this build is that we've got a playset of Shroud creatures, so it's pretty hard to get rid of this guy. He's a Gurmag Angler-sized creature, so that's good. Arguably, those are some of the biggest creatures in the format, unless you want to talk about Crushers. Other than that, it's just got a bunch of burn. We've got Firebolts, which is now much more affordable on Magic Online, thanks to the reprinting. Bolts and Firebolts, so lots and lots of bolts. But the build-around card of this deck is actually Orcish Lumberjack, which is why I wanted to bring it up with you guys today. I think this card has a lot of potential. We've played with it around in Vintage before, but I really want to see if I can not break this card, but certainly do something with this card. It's a very powerful effect. You tap the Lumberjack, and you get to sacrifice a forest, add 3 mana of any combination of red and or green to your pool. You'll notice we have a few more forests than we do mountains. Yeah, all in all, this is still relatively prototyped. I'm not sure about things like the one of Rancor, the one of main deck Jab, even the sideboard Jab. Playset of Power Blasts, a couple Sabotage, Spiders, Relics, and Rains. So we're just going to hop straight to it. I rarely do this, but I wanted to go back over our matches. So this is us up against just like a mono red beats, things like Familiar and Cohort, and they're just trying to get in there really quickly. This game's moving pretty fast, but you notice that we have the Mongoose and the Bear in play. He'll bolt our Werebear, and he's getting in for a lot of damage, our opponent. So I think something, let me pause it right here. I think something that I noticed with the prototype that had some issues was the fact that outside of things like looting and commune, we just don't do a good job turning the threshold on for either Mongoose or Werebear. I think this hand would have been a lot better if it had a red source. As you can see, we're getting kind of choked up here. He's going to swing in for 8 here. And I consider a double block, and I wish that I had. Let me pause it right here. I think that's very, very, very short-sighted. I think what we were supposed to do is just take the 8, go to 4. Unless he has another couple lightning bolts, I could commune and then turn on the Bear and the Mongoose. But even then, like, not seeing the second red source would really hurt us. Game 2, the same thing didn't happen, but he did have the lightning bolt. We managed to stabilize, if I'm not mistaken. We sideboarded in the Spiders. You'll notice in the new version of the deck, I've trimmed down on the Spiders already. We're just running a couple now. I actually cut the Ancient Grudges for Sabotages. I think the deck has a reasonable number of creatures, apes, jacks, mongoose, werebears, and after adding the Satyr Wayfinders, which somebody in chat suggested, one of you guys suggested, I've noticed that the deck has no problem. If you guys don't remember the Conspire mechanic, that was as you cast this, you may tap 2 untapped creatures, and then you get to copy it and choose a new target. So you basically, this is kind of like an Ancient Grudge effect for the deck. As long as we have 2 creatures, Lumberjacks and Wayfinders in the late game are happy to be tapped to Conspire or Sabotage. So, somebody gave us a playset of Molten Rains, so I'm going to give that a shot. Back to the match. But we don't take this, and it was pretty disappointing because it looks like we're going to. And that Forge Devil is the beats, by the way. That was a beating. If you guys don't remember this one, limited all-star, enters the battlefield, deals 1 damage to our creature, 1 damage to you. So he actually took out. Now we bolt his conscripts. That may have been aggressive, we'll see. I think I slam Spider, take Crocodile. Now right there, I may have needed to take the Ape. You'll see. I probably should have taken the Ape, because it was a play I could have made that turn. And we take a big hit here, and if I had taken the Ape, I could have blocked more of that damage. But instead, I got greedy and I took the Emperor Crocodile. So, you know, you can learn a lot from going back over your matches. I don't know if you guys do that. Some players really don't want to because they're like, oh, I don't want to see all these mistakes I made. But, like, right there, that was a pretty big mistake. And look, we go to 1. If I had had Ape, we would have blocked twice by now, and we would have been at 5 life if I had taken Ape instead of getting greedy and taking Crocodile. Huge difference in life total. Huge difference. And we're just never really able to close the game. I think I get in with the Crocodile a couple times, but I'm just never really able to close the game, and he like top decks a bolt in a couple turns. And here I can't decide if I'm supposed to swing with a Mongoose or not, as you can see. And there's the bolt. But it would have been a completely different game had, again, when I communed with the gods, not gotten greedy, chose Curd Ape instead of the Crocodile. So yeah, it's good. It's good to review matches, and we actually would lose our second match too. We have some matches that we win. This one was a little more close. This one had a loss and then a win and then a loss. Don't remember what this guy was playing. I think this was Elves. I think round 2 was Elves. Yes. Now Elves seems tough, right? It's got some new cards from Eternal Masters as well. I was jokingly calling Eternal Masters Pauper Masters because, you know, you've got Days coming back. And you've also got, you know, just a lot of things switching it up, you know. Yeah, Elvish Vanguard is the big new to-do for Elves. So yeah, okay, so we aggressively bolt the Timberwatch. I think that's correct. This is one of the win conditions for the Elves. This is the tap target creature gets +X/+X until end of turn. X is number Elves. And he just draws so many cards here. Look at that. Distant Melody. Draw a card for each permanent. And he's just kind of going off. As you can see, my opponent has way more dudes than we do. The Vanguard is too big for us to kill it, even if we drew another Lightning Bolt. It's a 4/4 already. Now it's a 5/5. This card's great. Yeah, I like kill an Essence Warden with a Firebolt. He's a 20. He was at 30 life there. Plenty of life points. I mean, the Warden's just fascinating in this deck. The blue splash in the Elves deck really is just for Distant Melody. They don't even run Hydroblast. They don't need to. The blue splash is just for Melody. Just to restock. Another Vanguard. I think we Firebolt it. But the damage is already done. And, you know, drawing the Lumberjack that late is not that exciting. Like, this guy is here to enable us playing this guy on turn 2. Or the Spiders, for that matter, out of the sideboard. Just really... And we're dead here. Game 2 was a little bit different. I think we saw some sideboard cards, I think is what happened. Against Elves, what happened this time. I think this is more informative, though, and fun. Hopefully, maybe I'll do more of these deck techs with you guys in the future of decks that we build and I really like and I want to feature. I think I wanted to feature this, I'm calling it Red-Green Pauperjack, or you can call it Pauperjack. It's a Lumberjack deck in Pauper. But basically, just really trying to see if Ape and Mongoose are worth it and Crocodile are worth it in the format. If you have things to support it like Lumberjack and things like Commune with the Gods. So we're going to take this Ape here. That's going to turn on both Werebears. You know, let me pause it right here. So we went from not Thresholded and we had like what? Like a Force and a Jab? Yeah, we went from not Threshold straight to Threshold. Commune is great. So this is reveal the top 5. You may put a creature or enchantment from among them into your hand, put the rest in the graveyard. The thing is it's a May. So if you really needed to turn on Threshold to the point where you don't even want to take a card, you could. But this on its own, even if you do take the creature, you're putting 5 cards in the yard. The Commune itself and then 4 other cards. So that's 5 cards going into the graveyard. That's even better than a Mulch. So this is great for our deck. Relatively recent printing, you know, last couple sets of Standard. So this deck has gotten a lot of help. Just this red-green Lumberjack beatdown that we've brewed here. Another Distant Melody. What's crazy, though, is we beat this guy despite the Distant Melody. I think that was a really aggressive, but maybe not. There's the Huntmaster. I think we bolt that. I do. I do bolt the Huntmaster. He has to do some pretty aggressive blocks here. And we win. Not bad. It's just interesting to go back over the matches and really see what was working, what wasn't. For example, this hand, pretty horrible, right? I kept literally a triple mongoose firebolt hand. And we're able to firebolt this Vanguard before he gets out of hand, but look at that, just drawing lands. And I don't think it's a very good keep. I don't think we should really keep the mongoose without something to turn on the threshold. And that's kind of where I'm getting at with the future of the deck and kind of what I've done. My opponent just kind of goes wide with this Huntmaster. Another one of the very powerful win conditions that Elves has access to. 4 mana 3/3. Well, that's not that exciting, but when you look at its ability, anytime you cast an Elf spell, get a 1/1 seems pretty good in Pauper anyway. And this just kind of gets out of hand. He goes really, really wide. And I never actually threshold these mongooses or this bear. If I did, we may have had more of a game. We get to the looting. And I loot, and we just can't find a way for me to get to threshold. We're at 5 cards. I firebolt, we're at 6 cards. Go to 1, and we're dead. Disappointing, right, to lose the first 2 matches out? But you know what? We came back with a really strong match 3 win. I can't remember what we played against, but you'll see that the deck kind of does what it needs to do. And I think this new version, the version that I showed you a second ago, is not the version you see here. There have been some pretty, not drastic changes, but I made some changes. I think I cut a land. I added more ways to turn on the threshold for Mongoose and Werebear, which is important. The deck wants... I think the deck wants mulch-like effects, but I don't actually want to run the card mulch. Oh, that's right, this was the combo deck. Yeah, Nightscape, we kill the Nightscape. Get in for a healthy attack there. Curd Ape far bigger. Okay, he's going to snap a Curd Ape. Snap is great. If you guys don't remember this one, return target creature, untap 2 lands. Fantastic. But hopefully, I mean, some of you guys that didn't necessarily appreciate the Eternal Masters spoilers, maybe this is more for you, just kind of a deck tech video where we review some matches. Yeah, just give me that feedback. I do read the YouTube comments that you guys post. Just be like, yeah, BrewSpy, I really liked the Eternal Master spoiler videos you did. Do more stuff like that. This video sucked. Or you could say, I guess the other thing you could say is I really like this. Okay, so there's the Drake. So that's untap 5 for 5, and there are all sorts of awesome combos you can do with it. Of course, both Sunscape Familiar, this is green, and blue spells you cast cost less, and Nightscape Familiar, blue and red spells. So basically just cheapening, if that's a word, making cheaper the Drake. You can kind of combo off, and then he runs Reaping the Graves, and it's just like a value deck, which is neat. It's just really neat. Yeah, it's just kind of like a value deck, what my opponent's playing. It's interesting. And there's the Familiar, the Sunscape Familiar. Just kind of like Esper Drake, Esper Value Drake. Fascinating. I mean, there are not many Storm cards that are still legal in Pauper. This is one of the few, Reaping the Graves. We win there. In game 2 after sideboarding, we did win this one. I can't remember if we saw any sideboard cards or not. Okay, there's a Pyroblast. That seems good when my opponent's tapping out 5 mana for a Drake. The Pyroblasts seem really great. Definitely one of the draws to being red, besides obviously the Ape and the Lumberjacks, is definitely that you get to run some of the best removal in the format. We're not running Little Dandy anymore. We're running Molten Rains, and you'll see that come into play in our game against Tron. If this was a Molten Rain instead of an Infestation, we would have won the match, which is pretty disappointing, and the Infestation isn't all that great. I mean, it's a 2 mana potential remove of a non-basic land. As you see, we do take out the Chancery there. I think aggressively Pyroblast his Snap. Just trying to get this Werebear going. 3-1 thanks to the Rancor. With this Commune, another Pyroblast from us on a second Snap. So Commune with the Gods finds me an Ape. We take the Ape. Go Ape, Mongoose. Now we have Threshold at the Bear, and this Mongoose will also be Threshold. We just put the pressure on this guy. and kind of circle protection green. Now, hang on a second. This sparked a debate in chat. Okay, so circle of protection says the word choose. It does not say target. It says choose. And so, interestingly enough, we were thinking, and this is true. We did do the research afterward. He totally could have prevented the damage from the mongoose. He should only have to take damage from the ape, but he never prevents damage on the mongoose, if you notice. Which I found funny. I think I should just keep the Power Blast. I do. Nightscape. This totally looks like a deck I'd love, though. What my opponent's playing, this, like, Esper wombo combo value with Storm. Get everything back. Yeah, he's not stopping the mongoose for whatever reason. And unless it's like a moto bug, he should be able to circle a protection. And there he goes. He does tap out for the Drake. I did talk about how the Power Blast could be really strong against this play. And we do counter it. Drake was, and if you notice this, notice that the gears, of course, the set symbol in this case are silver. Peregrine Drake was printed at common for Eternal Masters. So this is another card people are brewing around in Pauper for the time being. Does enable some wombo combo. So we do take that match. Awesome. And we do take our next match. What were we up against, though? I can't remember. This is a reasonable hand. Couple apes and a commune. Seems good, right? I think commune is one of the best cards in this deck after playing around with it. Honestly, like, after playing around with the playset of bears and mongoose, this is just really important for turning them on, speaking of which. So ape's going to get in there. I think I commune. No, I don't. I play... No. The correct play there is to just deploy the ape and the mongoose. Now, even with a full commune, even if I don't take anything, I'm not turning on the goose. The goose is not loose. So what we're playing against right now, if you guys don't recognize my opponent's deck, this is probably... Yeah, this is definitely Kudolf the Jeskai. So we actually do whiff here, but we find a Flame Jab. That's good. I actually could have thresholded this turn if I had used the jab. Somebody in chat definitely was saying that was the correct play. But I like building towards this Emperor Crocodile. Oh, Inspector's interesting for this deck. Yeah, it does efficiently give you a clue. And then you can use that clue for the Kudaltha. Okay, so he's going to Gal Blast our ape. One of our two apes. We Firebolt the Inspector. The nice thing about Threshold is it's a mechanic that rewards you for playing Magic. I mean, Mongoose saw plenty of play in, and still to this day sees some play in versions of Delver, Canadian Threshold. It's seeing a bit maybe less play than it used to in the past, but I think Mongoose is still very powerful in Legacy. In Pauper, you can also extend that to Werebear because it's a slower format than Legacy, but I think in Legacy the only playable of those Threshold threats really is just Goose. The Werebear just doesn't... There's, I mean, Tarmogoyf is the obvious green 2-drop. For a while, until Tarmogoyf was like a thing, it was all about the bears. Duh, bears. Let me get there. Game 2 against this guy went much the same way. We just kind of got under his skin. So this is a very interesting deck in that it does have the ability to play very aggressive lines. Very just like, ape, mongoose, bear, threshold them, kill you. They can get pretty sizable. Our creatures get relatively bigger than most of your... and I'm not trying to say that this deck is better than like a mono-green beatdown. I'm not trying to say this is better than a mono-red beatdown. It does benefit from the fact that we get to run cards from both colors. Our mana is also worse because of that, but it's nice that we get to run, some of the best cards in green that we get to run. In my opinion, I really like Spider. I think, let's look at the list real quick. Now that you guys have seen it play a few games out. New cards. The Wayfinder is new. You'll notice I wasn't playing that. Scout the Border is just a one-of just to supplement the communes. It's basically like a 5th commune with the gods. It's just slightly more expensive. This one is put a creature or land, whereas this one is creature or enchantment. The only enchantments we're running now, I think, is just the Rancor. So, and I would run the Rancor even without the commune. But as you can see, the deck's kind of more... I think it's coming together a little bit more. I really like the jabs in this deck a lot. They were pretty good. I mean, this was instrumental in our win against Elves, so maybe if we'd seen them again game 3, we could have maybe won that. But But yeah, I mean, like, green gives us Sabotage, which is one of the best green sideboard cards you can be running. Red gives us Power Blast, so I think that these two colors complement each other. I'm not aware of a red-green beatdown existing in Pauper. Um, so we'll see if we can make this a thing. You know, anytime you brew a prototype, you brew a deck that you're passionate about, the hope is that it could be a thing. Okay, so I tap out for the spider here. We actually use the Werebear's ramp there, as you can see. So what's nice about Werebear is he does have that flexibility of, hey, I'll ramp you when you need ramp. If the game lasts long enough for you to threshold me, I will be what you need. I think we do slam the Crocodile here. Get him with a 4/4 Penumbra. Penumbra Spider is kind of overlooked in the Pauper format. I actually really like this card. I don't know if I should be running a playset or not. But as far as 4-drops go next to the Crocodile, I like this a lot. It does really well against Delver. It's very grindy because when it dies, you get another 2/4. And granted, that's a token. If they have bounce effects, the token is much worse than the spider. But yeah. So I just kind of Ancient Grudge some away some of his lands. Now, granted, let me pause it here. If we had the Conspire card, I still could have taken out 2 lands. For less mana, too, because this is 3 mana. This is a 3 mana play. Colorless Red, Grudge, Flashback Grudge. The advantage to Grudge over something like Sabotage, these actually aren't that much money right now. They used to be a bit more tickets on Magic Online. I highly recommend you pick these up now. If you're looking to play something like this, the expensive stuff is really just the Power Blasts. I'm not kidding. This deck is pretty dirt cheap. I can say that with confidence. I think the most expensive cards are the sideboard cards. The playset of Power Blast is going to run you, right now, probably about 5 tickets. That's 5 tickets right there. These is going to cost you 1 to 2 tickets, depending on if you can get a good price. These will cost you less than a ticket now. Just a couple Sabotage I recommend. These shouldn't cost you much of anything. So really the expense of the deck is the sideboard. You can grow into that. The main deck, very cheap, very, very cheap. Mongoose just totally dropped price-wise on Magic Online. You just need some forests and some mountains. I wouldn't recommend the slow lands. You could, if you want your mana to be, like, perfect. But I just like running the basics because the deck wants to be fast, and it hasn't had too many mana issues so far. Just, I recommend running slightly more forests than you do mountains because of the jacks. So, yeah, I mean, the only other expensive card might be the Firebolts, but they've gotten a lot cheaper with this reprinting. So, give it a try. Give it a try if you want to. I'll try to put this up on my Twitter and Facebook if you want a list to look at as you build it. Yeah, Pauperjack. I'm always flattered when you guys play my brews, and then usually what happens is you guys take it to the next level. We have the casual 7/5 Crocodile. He does journey it. It's okay, we get the Rancor back. I mean, I know we didn't win all our matches in this run, but for a prototype to do so well is exciting. Now notice, again, what have we not done? We haven't turned on the threshold for this bear, or this mongoose. That's what we need to fix. So, in the previous version was running, we were running Faithless Looting. I think we just need more of these effects. So, if this is not enough either, maybe we'll trim a croc and run maybe more Scout the Borders. Just more of this effect. More of this kind of effect of getting cards into the graveyard. Whilst getting some value, of course, in the case of Scout and Commune, it's going to hopefully replace itself with another threat that you need. I mean, for every couple of cards that we add, we could technically cut a Crocodile. You know, for every couple cards, every couple, you know, Communes and Scouts we run. Now, Wayfinder, of course, would only find us a land, but I think we just need more effects, and I wasn't really pleased with the looting. I wasn't doing a good job efficiently turning on the threshold. And, I mean, wayfinding into more forests for Lumberjack is relevant. I think this is just going to be important because it's going to get things in the graveyard. We're happy to get things like Firebolt and Jab into the graveyard. That would be a reason to stick with Ancient Grudge over Sabotage. I think overall Sabotage is probably going to be the better card, though. And maybe we can trim on Rains and Pyroblast and maybe get them back in there. Just thinking. Another journey, but it's just not enough. slap the Rancor, I think, on the Ape. Do another bear. Now, obviously, you can't put the Rancor on the Mongoose. That's kind of why I only really... If I'm going to run any Rancors, I'm going to run one. Plus, I mean, it works with Commune. You know, if you didn't find a threat you wanted and you see a Rancor in there, you can take that instead. Cool. So 2 wins, 2 losses. Do we get this win? No, we don't, but I think we should have. And I think this should have been a 3-1 or a 3-2. You'll see. It comes down to the wire, and the fact that we went budget. I do typically go budget on decks I'm not sure about, despite the playset of Pyroblast. Well, I was going to get those anyway because I play Legacy. But the game does come down to just a couple points of damage that could have been made up with a Molten Rain versus the land destruction that we were running for on a budget. So we start here. It wasn't a turn 1 Jack. We top decked the lumberjack, but this is still a really powerful start for us. So I literally get to make a whole bunch. Look at that. Look at, oh man. Let me pause it here. This is my turn 3, buddy. Pal. Viewers. If I may call you such. Friends. This is our turn 3 play. If we had had turn 1 Jack, I could have done this play on turn 2. Mongoose Crocodile. Like, this just gives you so much mana. Lumberjack is one of the most underestimated but powerful mana dorks. Most powerful mana dorks in the game. And I just don't think he gets enough credit. Okay, I'll say this much. I understand why, because Jack is so specific. Lumberjack, it's specific to red-green X decks. Like, in Vintage, we're playing a red-green-blue deck. I can actually show you that deck at the end. But I just really love the power level of the card. It's just so underestimated, and it's totally popular. I think any game that we start... Okay, here's the Drake. And he does have Capsize. So, my opponent tries to kind of combo off here a little bit, you'll see. Yep, Capsize. Redeploy Drake. But now, somebody in chat was telling me what he really needs is multiple towers and more than just that many blue sources. He would need to be untapping 3 colored sources. So if he had 3 colored sources here, my opponent actually could have wombo comboed off. So he was literally 1 colored source off, which, I mean, it's still pretty impressive what he does here with the Peregrine Drake. Yeah, Capsize my Croc. And then we kill him here with the additional mana from the Jack. I just double Firebolt this guy. Not unreasonable for us to just do that. Just have a whole bunch of mana. Now, how many times did we actually use the Jack for mana this game? Just twice. But, I mean, 3 mana is a lot of mana. I'm not gonna, you know... I mean, when I play the deck in Vintage, it does sometimes feel like you have Black Lotus on a stick. It's not Black Lotus. It's far and away from Black Lotus. Now, you'll see this card just isn't as good as a Molten Rain would be. It's far and away, a million miles away from Black Lotus, but, you know, it kind of feels like one once the game gets going. You know, if you go turn 1 Jack... Next turn, if you're able to give up a forest, you just turn that forest into basically a Black Lotus. For red and green mana, but you kind of get the point. I think anytime you have a card that says make 3 mana, there's going to be something you can do with it. Lion's Eye Diamond is an example of that. Lion's Eye Diamond is far and away, again, maybe not millions of miles away from Black Lotus, but it's certainly thousands of miles away. And, you know, that is a card that reads make 3 mana for 0. So, and that card sees plenty of play. There are plenty of Lion's Eye Diamond decks that have been played and built over the years. Of course, the premier Lion's Eye Diamond deck, God, that Ghostly Flicker is so good. Let me pause right here. So this is another reason why we just can't have this card, because a lot of the blue Tron decks are based around Flicker, especially if they're going to be running Peregrine Drake. We just can't have things like Infestation against things like Flicker. And it's just so evident this game, and it's very evident in this next game that we play against Tron. We could have won, I think, if we had Molten Rains. I was worried about Molten Rain, A, for the price, and B, for the color. But look at this. We got We've got red, red, green for Molten Rain for days, man. This Jack's a little bit late to the party, which makes me sad. I guess what I'll say about Jack is at least Jack is not doesn't feel as bad as like a top deck Bird of Paradise. It does have an attack power. The lumberjacks do. So I guess you could like chump block with it to try to get to threshold, which we need to here. And he's just kind of doing the Bluetron thing. We've got some drifts and oracles and walls, and you're probably sitting there like, well, BrewSpy, why aren't you playing what he's playing? Why are you trying to do this thing? Not gonna lie, it looks pretty good, my opponent's list. Alright, Circle Protection red. Alright, you've turned off my lumberjack. Now, we only have one forest, so I really can't enjoy the extra mana from the Jack anyway. Teachings into Capsize, and it's just game. I make a mistake. I think we draw a commune with the gods, and instead of taking a mongoose, I take a bear. I think that's like in a turn or so. There's a forest. Had a bunch of people telling me that they really appreciated my choice in lands. It's the little things, guys. It is the little things. Yeah, this is just brutal. And a Karavik's Torch to the face. He actually misclicks there. You notice that I was supposed to die, and for whatever reason, he didn't kill us with a Karavik's Torch. He kills us with a Karavik's Torch in a moment. Maybe he's just screwing around with us. You know, some people like to play with their food before they eat it. There's the commune, and right here I should have taken... No, I have to take ape. Excuse me. I think that's the next game against this guy. Take the werebear instead of the mongoose. Unfortunately. And this just goes all sorts of wrong. And we're toast. Alright, last game. Thanks for sticking by, checking this out. It's kind of fun to go back after the fact and reassess plays that I made and maybe card choices for the deck. Surely, I think that looting was not the right call. Maybe if I was building like a black-red reanimator for Pauper, which I think is a fine archetype and doesn't really get played like it should. Black, of course, for the reanimation, red for looting and pyroblast, and maybe removal. I think that'd be a really cool deck. Maybe that's another deck we'll brew soon. Exhume being in the format. Animate Dead, I believe, is now common, if I'm not mistaken. But there's a lot of potential. So we kind of come out of the gates okay speed. Wish we could have power blasted this drifter. Bolts my ape. And see, this looting just does not do a great job getting us towards... And I think I get greedy there. I do bin both Crocs. I binned both Crocs. But, you know, we make it to our threshold. We do. There's the Drake. This Drake seems like it's going to really have an impact. You know, we played against 2 Drake decks already. I think there's going to be a lot of people trying to jam Peregrine Drake. So he does a triple block, we Pyroblast. Say go. And there's the Capsize, and it's just so backbreaking. Now you'll notice this game gets really close, and we'll draw the land destruction enchantment, but if it had been a Molten Rain, we may have won. You'll see. Pulse of Marasa. This Pyroblast is a huge tempo swing in our favor. And I set up another Pyroblast. I keep the Jack. Get in there. And we're going to Faithless Looting away this Jack, I think. Oh, Moment's Peace. That's right. Yeah, he brought in freaking Moment's Peace. This is sweet. Prevent all combat damage with flashback. Pretty good against things like Affinity. In Pauper, Affinity they sacrifice all their stuff to pump up into Tog for lethal, and then you just So we Power Blast this, but he teaches him response. This play is gross and wonderful. And one of the reasons to be playing Tron and Pauper, you'll notice, he buybacks a Capsize on his Prism just for value. I Pyroblast it. He teaches... You'll see, he teachings into a Hydroblast and Hydroblasts my Pyroblast. Glorious, right? Ridiculous. Ridiculously awesome. But yeah, I guess in a nutshell, one of the reasons why I wanted to do a video, a YouTube video on this, is I wanted to make you guys aware that... And he goes to 2 here. He goes to 2 here. Wall, getting back. Flame Slash. He slashes our bear. This uncontrolled... hang on, pause it. Let me pause here. This infestation, if it was a Molten, would just win right here. Yep. But it doesn't win. We play Crocodile instead. But he has the buyback Capsize and all the mana to do it. Yep, gets back the Pulse. And that was our window right there. If this... Let me pause it. You know, sometimes it's okay to go budget, but in some places you really shouldn't. If that was a Molten Rain, we may have just won. Right there. Right there. But I'm excited, and I think the deck's going to get stronger. So he torches my Croc. Block, block. I don't even bother casting Infestation. I just am aware that it's just not going to do anything. Pulse is great, too. These blue-red Tron decks splashing green for things like Pulse and Peace. It's awesome. I'm supposed to take the Goose here, and I take the Werebear. He can just Capsize the bear. I'm supposed to take a 3rd Mongoose. It's so obvious, but I take a bear. Unfortunate, right? No, it's still uncommon, Animate Dead. Just checking the gather. I still think that there could be... I guess really the only reanimation spell that's playable that you can play for Pauper is just the Exhume, huh? I'll look into it. That might be a fun archetype. I know Ben Pomegranate, as you guys might know him, tried to do something with that. So all in all, I think that if we hadn't gone budget, this could have been a 3-2. But that's okay. Sometimes you got to build a prototype before you realize you like it. So now we got the Rains and the Power Blasts. I'd love to do another run with this deck. Let me know if you'd like me to do another run with this deck on a further stream. We'll see if the additional copy of Scout and the Wayfinders is better than the Lootings, and if it turns the deck on more often, if that makes sense, turns on the Threshold more often. Love to do more of this with you guys in the future. I guess the last thing I want to say before we go is check out the Card Hoarder podcast. It's just www.cardhoarder.com/podcast. They really do a great job. Connor O'Donnell is doing a great job making these. I got to star on episode 7, which is kind of cool if you want to learn a little bit more about me and my background as far as Magic's concerned. Listen to that one. They're great to listen to the car to or on the way to work. And you know what? I think podcasts are in these days, right? I mean, well, maybe not. But, you know, with all the long trips I took, especially driving to the Midwest and back, what an adventure that was, guys. I listened to a lot of podcasts. I've actually listened to every episode except number 11. Is Magic Online worth it? I mean, my opinion would be yes, but that's maybe because I'm a streamer. But yeah, check these out. They do great stuff. And be on the lookout for the Card Hoarder. Obviously, you guys know we finished the Pauper Challenge. But be on the lookout, and that's just on the main page. Be on the lookout for the Standard. I'm actually one of the team captains for the Standard Challenge, so I cannot wait for that. that's all the time I have for you guys today. And I hope to do more of these videos. Please, again, let me know in the feedback on the page or on our Twitter or Facebook pages that you like this content, that positive feedback's really good. And if there's something you don't like about it, please tell me, and I'll do my best to fix it. All right, I'll see you guys on the next show.